The Toronto Blue Jays are headed to the World Series after a pole-stirring 4-3 victory over the Seattle Mariners in a game that felt like a microcosm of baseball itself. Moments of triumph, flashes of despair, and the greatest march of history. The Jays managed to seize control when it mattered most. Seattle drew first blood in the top of the first as Naylor's single drove in Rodriguez, giving the Mariners an early 1-0 lead. But Toronto answered in kind. Varsho's sharp single to center, bringing in Springer, evening the score and signaling that the Blue Jays were here to fight. From there, it was back and forth. Rodriguez, third inning homer, gave Seattle a fleeting advantage, only for rallies. 381-foot blast in the fifth to bring the game back to a one-run margin. The defining moment came in the seventh. Springer, with the weight of the season on his shoulders, unleashed a towering home run to left center, driving in Barger and Keener Falefa. Suddenly, Toronto had not just a lead, but momentum, and in baseball, momentum is as tangible as the bat in your hand. From the mound, Gausman earned the win, allowing Seattle to claw, but never enough to change the narrative. Hoffman closed the door in the ninth, securing the save and sealing a season's worth of dreams. The Blue Jays are now going to the World Series, a city hope is riding on their shoulders, and a team that has demonstrated the resilience, timing, and occasional magic that makes baseball the timeless game we love. And with that, we welcome you to the Ryder Report. A lot to get to on today's show. We've got NFL Hot Topics Week 8. Albert Lainer is with us. Plus, it is Jersey Day in the NBA. So we're going to be counting down the best current and throwback jerseys, plus season preview of the Pelicans and the Spurs, getting you ready for opening night of the NBA 24 hours from now, if you can believe that. So welcome to the Ryder Report. Buckle in. We've got a great show for you, and it starts right now. Week 7 of the NFL, and we start in London, where the Rams said, cheerio, mate, we're bringing the points with us. Matthew Stafford slinging it like it's 2011 again, and Kyren Williams ran through the fog, 54 yards and a touchdown. Trevor Lawrence threw for 296, but it was a rough tea party. Rams 35, Jags 7, pip, tally-o. See ya, London. Rams go to 5-2, Jags now 4-3. In Chicago, Spencer the Rattlesnake Rattler to Chris Olave Garden. All you can eat, Olave. 2 touchdowns, but DeAndre Swift Justice was laying down the law. 124 yards and a score. Bears won at 26-14, climbed to 4-2. The Saints 1-6 and needing a miracle on Michigan Avenue. In Cleveland, Dylan Gabriel said, I'll take the wheel, Judkins. You take the house. 3 touchdowns, and the Browns bark loud in the dog pound. Dolphins get drowned 31-6. Browns to 2-5. Dolphins to 1-6. Floundering in the shallows. In Nashville, Cam Ward, not the goalie, but he was under pressure all day. Ramondre Stevie Wonder Stevenson, 88 yards and a touchdown, and the Pats play the hits. New England wins at 31-13. They're 5-2 and humming like a Sam Adams brewery on Sunday night. Titans, they're 1-6, and they got the Blues down in Nashville. In Kansas City, Patrick Mahomes, 286 yards, 3 touchdowns. Isaiah Pacheco ran through the holes wider than a Vegas buffet line. Chiefs 31, Raiders 0. Mahomes to Kelsey, yeah, you know the story. Raiders, no dice. Chiefs are 4-3. Vegas is 2-5. And baby, the kingdom is alive and well. In Minnesota, Jalen Hurts, 326 yards and 3 touchdowns through the air. Devontae Smith, 9 grabs, 183 yards. Eagles soar past the Vikes, 28-22. Philly 5-2, Minnesota 3-3, and the Skull Chants turn into snore. In the Meadowlands, Bryce Young and the Restless to Xavier Legate. 3-yard touchdown. Panthers scratch out a 13-6 win over the winless Jets, who are now 0-7. And the Jets are spelling Pain. In Denver, the Broncos trailed the Giants 32-0 in the fourth, then scored 33 unanswered. J.K. Dobbins ran like a Bronco on fire. Justin Sternard stealed it with a pick, and Denver stunned New York 33-32, one of the wildest comebacks you'll ever see. Broncos go up to 5-2. The Giants dropped to 2-5, wondering what hit them. In Los Angeles, Jonathan Taylor 3 touchdowns, and the Colts run through Hollywood. Justin Herbert threw 420 yards, but no spark in that Charger battery. Colts 38, Chargers 24. Indy 6-1 in the Horseshoe. Keep clopping. In Dallas, Dak Prescott had 3 touchdowns. CeeDee Lamb 110 yards and a score. Javonte Double J Williams adds 100 on the ground. Cowboys rope the Commanders 44-22. Dallas 4-3-1. Washington's D, well, they're AWOL. In Arizona, Jordan Love showed, some love. Late rally to beat Arizona 27-23. Jacoby Brissett had 2 touchdowns to Trey McBride, but Green Bay's cheese didn't melt. Packers 4-1-1. Cards 2-5, and the Lambeau Leap lives on, even in the desert. In San Francisco, Christian McCaffrey, 129 yards, 72 receiving, 2 scores. Michael Penix Jr. threw darts, but CMC just does everything but paint the field lines. Niners 20, Falcons 10, San Fran 5-2, ATL 3-3, and the faithful keep the faith. Monday Night Football doubleheader, Detroit taking on Tampa Bay. How about Jamar Gibbs? He breaks free for a 78-yard touchdown to give the Lions a 24-9 victory. And the Seattle Seahawks currently up 2 scores against Houston, 14-0. With that, we bring in Albert Lainer. I'm so sorry. Albert Lainer. And he is the host of the Wise Guys show, which is currently on YouTube. And if you've not seen that, you should definitely check it out. It's one of my favorites. And Albert, great to have you with us as always. Week 7 of the NFL. What do you make of it?
Well, this is, of course, the NFL Hot Topics section of the Ryder Report. And there were some hot games in this Week 7. I've often said, and I have often noticed, that the games that you hope will be really good because the matchup seems so excellent sometimes become duds. I'll give you an example. Colts versus the Chargers. I'd really hoped that would be a great game, and it was a great game for the Colts. It wasn't a great game for the audience. And it was an interesting week because the Colts ended up scoring over 30 points over the Chargers.
Right.
The Colts offense just ran over the Chargers defense. And, Chargers are one of those teams that I warned. I said, you got to look out. This week, of course, Denver won. You got Denver that's winning games. The Chiefs are revitalized to a certain extent. Yep. They're coming back. They got to watch it in that division. The Chargers, if they don't watch their step, they may end up losing not only the division lead, but also losing a chance to go to the playoffs. So they have to do that, and the Buffalo Bills have to do that as well. They've got to look out as well. So they have to be very careful because you have the Patriots. The Patriots already are in first place. Right. In the AFC East. So, again, and another interesting thing before we move on is, 1 week there were all these games that were close and down to the wire and decided by, 2 or 3 points or so. And this week you saw several teams blow out their opponents. Mm-hmm. The Rams did it with the Jaguars. The Colts did it with the Chargers. Dallas did it with Washington. So several teams blew down the doors of their opponents. So it seems to be at times a kind of a cycle, a sort of pattern. Sometimes you get a cluster pattern. Sometimes you get a lot of close games in 1 week, down to 3 points or more, and then sometimes you get a cluster of blowout, lopsided scores. So that's what the NFL is this year in 2025. Oh, and also at least one great game thus far a week. So
perfect. I want to talk about the Broncos, if we can, for just a minute. Denver flirted with disaster in the first 3 quarters of that game, and then they staggered a comeback that might be the greatest comeback in regular season history. Are the Broncos really lucky, or are they really good?
Well, in this game, they were really good in the fourth quarter.
Okay.
So people who didn't watch this game, and I would suggest if you like the NFL and you missed this game, watch this game. Rarely see a game like this. The statistic that I saw was in 3 quarters, they had over 100, they had like 180 yards. They, meaning the Denver Broncos, in 3 quarters had 180 yards and 0 points.
Right.
In the fourth quarter, they had over 200 yards and 33 points. 33 points. Now, I don't know if anybody's a Mason on the Denver Broncos, but apparently they reached the highest rank with the highest, you could argue that the highest ranking points. That's a whole other discussion on a whole other show.
Yep.
But what I would say is they were lucky to a certain extent. Most of it was ability. Bo Nix's ability to get, as I like to say, to be in the zone, meaning to get touchdowns with his team, and to see red, meaning also to get touchdowns. He ran in a touchdown. He threw touchdowns. And this is a pattern that you see with Denver. Denver came back earlier against the Eagles. Now, the Eagles only had like a couple touchdowns, really. And Denver did have points on the board. They had about 3 points. So it wasn't as lopsided a score. It was lopsided, but not as lopsided a score. They were up, meaning the New York Giants were up 26 to Denver's 8 in the fourth quarter. The Giants were dominant on offense. They basically, the Denver defense, one of the best in the NFL, could not stop this offense, which is depleted. It's like uranium. It's depleted.
You're right.
You have Scatterboo, you have Dart.
Yep.
Dart's effective thus far as a starter. You don't have too many. You don't hardly have any because Neighbors is out.
Right.
So the reality is that the Giants, even with their depleted defense, with their depleted offense and their defense, which is good sometimes but not good all the time, had this game in hand.
Yeah.
And they lost it.
Right.
How do I put this? I picked in my pregame assessments, I picked the Broncos over the Giants.
Okay.
Just say the Broncos helped me get a winning week. I won't go into too much because I know California, no sports betting, I don't believe there.
No sports betting.
And certainly in my state, no sports betting.
Right.
So no more comment
about that. No more
that.
comments. Gotcha.
No more comment about that. But the Broncos helped a lot.
Okay.
Thanks, Denver.
Thanks,
good. Denver. But I do have one more thing to say about that game. I'm infuriated by Sean Payton coming out, protesting the PI call, and getting a penalty. What he did was absolutely not only ridiculous, but it was totally destructive to his team.
Yeah.
There's no way that a head coach should go out on the field about a couple feet from referees and almost get in their face.
Right.
You can't do that.
No.
And I hate the Broncos. I'm a Raiders fan. Among, a couple other teams.
Yeah.
I hate the Denver Broncos.
Right.
But even I felt that he was screwing up. If they had lost this game, he would have been partially responsible for their loss with that penalty.
Yeah.
He would have contributed to their loss. And, this is – so what Sean Payton did is outrageous. I don't know why the professional pundit world of sports isn't calling this guy out. From what I see, they haven't.
No, I haven't. They have not, no.
Completely wrong. Why they aren't calling this man out, I don't know. Sean Payton is not a good coach. He has skills, yes. But I could see why Bill Parcells, when Sean Payton was an assistant coach or a coach at the New York Giants, called him Dennis the Menace. Sean Payton is a menace to this team, at least on that play.
Yeah.
There's no way you should be going out on the field and no way you should be doing that. It's absolutely asinine and absolutely moronic. And this guy should be held. I mean, I would say suspend him for at least a game.
Okay.
I mean, this is absolutely ridiculous. I mean, I don't want this to go viral. I know that Pat McAfee loves local talk sports. So, and he had somebody on about the Cleveland Browns. But look, I don't want this to go viral or anything.
Right.
But Peyton is a joke.
Okay.
He's a joke. He's a joke. No, would Andy Reid do that?
No.
Would Pete Carroll do that?
No.
No, and Jim Harbaugh wouldn't do that.
Absolutely not.
No. None of these really good coaches would ever do that. So, I mean, this guy should be held to task for getting out there and almost getting in the faces of referees. It's absolutely jeopardizing your team. And, Denver, they managed to win this game, but Peyton did his team no favors by doing that. I understand he didn't like the call. You could argue the call however you want, but argue it from the sidelines. What he did was absolutely wrong, and why ESPN, Fox Sports, and all these other pundits are calling this out and taking him to task. They'll take all these players to task, but they won't go after that coach for some reason.
Right.
Are they so in love with Sean Payton that they won't say anything? I mean,
guess
this is
so.
absolutely ridiculous.
I guess so.
I'm sorry that I'm so...
No, you have a right to be. No, you have a right to be, and that's why we have you on.
I don't even like the Broncos.
Yeah.
And I was offended by that. That's the weird thing. I'm like, I could not believe that he's 2 or 3 feet from the referees.
Yeah.
I couldn't believe it. So hopefully this won't be a highlight somewhere on the Pat McAfee show or something like that. I don't need that.
Would you go on, Pat?
Yeah,
if Pat McAfee,
great show, by the way. I think it's a great show.
If Pat,
I think it's one of the few real shows that are on the broadcast. There's no other show like it. I don't want to go viral. I don't want this. I don't want this to go viral, but I may have no choice. What he did was ridiculous. This is stupidity. Stupidity on the part of Sean Payton. So I'm sorry about that. Let's go on.
If Pat McAfee asked you to come on and talk about this, would you?
Sure. Yeah, I'd love to come on the show.
Okay.
Because that show is no BS.
Gotcha.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
It's no BS.
Absolutely. They're not talking about the Broncos because you can't turn on a sports show and not talk about the Cowboys. And so that's, if you watched First Take this morning, it was all of Cowboys. And we're going to talk about the Cowboys too. I want to focus though on Javonte Williams. He's running through tacklers like a man possessed. They're averaging a north of 30 points per game, but here's the catch. 6 of their final 10 opponents rank in the league's top half in scoring defense. Can the Cowboys offense carry them to a playoff spot?
Can the offense do it?
Yes.
Oh, yeah, the offense could do it. I mean, this offense is the best I've seen in years for Dallas. And I'm a Dallas fan. I'm a fan of 3 teams, obviously, but Dallas is one of them. This offense, it's weird for me this year as a Dallas fan. I don't like to talk about being a fan of any team, really, when I'm doing analysis too much. But it's weird for me as a Dallas fan because I know how good this offense is. I knew it from the first game against the Eagles. I said, these guys are ready. I know some people won't like to hear this, but I'm telling you, the way Dak is playing now, he can play in the Super Bowl. I said that about Baker Mayfield with the Buccaneers. I'm saying it with Dak Prescott now. This guy can go to the Super Bowl this year and win. That's how good he's playing. That's how good Dak is playing. And this offense is the real deal. They just seem ready to play. They're about as close to a well-oiled machine as I've seen. And I mean, when they got 40 points off of a Green Bay defense that was at the very beginning scary to me, like slowing teams down, that really got my attention. I mean, they did a good job with the Eagles, did a good job with the Giants. I mean, but when they took on the Packers, and and that defense did step up a bit in that game. They did it against, they got some tackles. That's why the Green Bay was forced to do what I believe was a drawn play from their playbook. I'm sure the people who don't agree with me, but that's what I think. The offense could do it. I don't know what's happening with the defense. The only suggestion that I have is that put a basic pass rush together, blitz. That's it. I'm nothing exotic, nothing complex. Basic pass rush, get some rushers up there that at least come close to the quarterback, and maybe blitzes at this point. Backfield, I've given up on. I call it the vacant lot defense because there's nobody around. I've given up on the backfield. Deron Bland had a pick six in this game. There were some signs. The defense actually did a pretty good job against Washington. But I gotta be really honest. I've given up on the defense. Can the offense get them to it? And I've said this before. They're an AFC team. Dallas is an AFC team in the NFC. Can they get to the playoffs with that offense? Oh yeah.
Okay.
But the question is, how can they resuscitate or rehabilitate that defense? And that is still a work in progress.
Let's shift to the Colts. Worthless stat of the day. The Colts got their first win in Los Angeles since 1986. They averaged 32.1 points per game. That's not a useless stat. You can put that in your back pocket. The Colts have the league's most potent attack, an offense that scored touchdowns on its first three possessions Sunday, then kept the accelerator down as the Chargers tried to rally. There are blemishes, of course, injuries and that, but how far can the Colts' league-leading offense take them?
I believe the Colts' offense could take them to the playoffs at least. This is the most consistent team I've seen in the NFL. Closest to them was the Lions. They lost to the Chiefs, so there was a bit of tarnish with that, but that's okay. You got to lose sometime. But this is the most consistent team. I mean, this is a team that all the pieces have come together. Daniel Jones is working beautifully within this system. Jonathan Taylor is outstanding this year. Steichen seems to be doing a great job there. Sometimes all the pieces come together. You get the right quarterback that works within your system, and your offense responds to it, and other players do well, like Taylor did. And then also, I've said this before, offensive line is the most important part of the NFL. That's my position, and that's what I put forth. I'm offensive line oriented as the basic mechanism of the NFL, of NFL teams. So this offensive line is doing the job with the Colts, and they're protecting Daniel Jones. I look at this team, sky's the limit. They play the Chargers, a good team. What's important is no one can say now that they haven't faced at least a good team. They faced the Rams, barely lost to them. They faced the Chargers. This team is a contender for the playoffs. And I believe unless Jones gets injured and Taylor gets injured, Chiefs managed to make it to the playoffs, they could beat the Chiefs. but I don't want to go too far
Right.
in my assessments.
Daniel Jones, do you think he could win Most Improved Player?
Definitely. Yeah. Oh, definitely. I think he'd be one of the shoo-ins for it.
Let's talk Philadelphia. The Eagles, for weeks, we've been talking about where's their offense. Why ain't Saquon Barkley ran for 100 yards yet? He said he did it 7 times last year, yet to do it again. But Devontae Smith had a career-best 183 yards. A.J. Brown found the end zone twice. Jalen Hurts threw 3 touchdowns. Are the Eagles' offense back?
It seems like it's back, but I don't think it is. So let's look at this stat. Look at the first drive of the Eagles in the first quarter. They went, I think it was 12 plays, if I recall correctly, because I was looking at the stat on TV. 12 plays, I think it was over 70 yards for a touchdown. Good, solid first drive. After that, they went 3 and out 3 times, and I believe this is accurate, but people can let me know if I'm wrong. It was less than 10 yards. They went 3 series, 3 and out, and less than 10 yards total.
3 plays, yeah.
That doesn't seem to me like an offense that's ready. Yes, they got better as the game went along. Yes, Hurts had a good game. I think he had over 300 yards. He made some great passes.
Yeah,
this offense for the Eagles is still, it's an unsatisfactory. The only game that I've seen, this came close. The only game that I think I've seen that they were satisfactory offensively was the Buccaneers. And they scored, I think, over 30 points in that game. The Eagles, they've got issues. I believe the Eagles are a dysfunctional team. I think they are. Internally, there have been problems with this team for a long time. They've managed to play well despite their issues. And nobody's talking about it. Nobody's talking about this. But other than the tweets that you get from A.J. Brown, this is a dysfunctional team. And I think this offense is paying the price for that. You got talented people, but this offense has to get it in gear. Dallas has a really good offense. And if I haven't seen the schedule, I don't know if they're going to meet with Dallas later on. I probably think they will. If they meet in Dallas later on, they may lose. Right now, the Eagles can't afford to have like 2 games dropped. They were able to win this game, but they're not consistent, and their offense is a big part of that.
Okay. You were right. 3 plays, 4 yards, a minute 33. That was that drive there. And then the Eagles and the Cowboys slated for November 23rd in Dallas.
Yeah. So be on the lookout for that. That'll be the ultimate test to me of the offense of the Eagles.
Okay. They have the Giants next week. Just a plug there. Let's talk about the Browns. We don't get to talk about the Browns very often. They topped 17 points for the first time in nearly 3 months. And Sunday they did that and they won. So is this win fool's gold or something to build on for Cleveland?
Well, it's something to build on. That's the best that you could say with Cleveland. They've got a good defense. Yeah. And they showed it when they played the Packers. And that defense destroyed that offense of the Packers. It really did. Kept it a close game and they're able to win. With Gabriel in, he's doing a decent job thus far. It gives them a better chance at offense. Or at least at making offensive plays that count and that matter. And so it's going to be interesting to see where Cleveland goes from this point forward, because I don't know if they're going to be playoff material, but you'll probably have to look out for them. So this will be a tough out, kind of like the Saints. To be honest, the Saints, they don't have a great record, but they're a kind of tough out. Not the right term to use in regards to football. They're a tough out. They're a tough team to deal with at times. So I think the Browns are a team that you're going to have to look out for. I think any team at this point is going to have to look out for.
Okay. We'll shift gears now to the NFC South. For a long time, the NFC South has kind of been a punchline of the easiest division in football and that. And now, though, Buccaneers, winners of 4 straight before they just lost tonight to the Lions, they look reborn with Baker Mayfield playing his best football. Atlanta's finding rhythm with Michael Penix Jr. and their offense. And now, all of a sudden, Carolina's rewriting this script. Could we potentially have 3 teams from the NFC South make the playoffs?
It's potential. Potentially you could. I think the likely, of course, will be the Buccaneers. Carolina's still a work in progress because they're beginning to get a couple of wins. They're beginning to make it. The problem with them is consistency and whether they can sustain victories. That was kind of the case last year, too. They weren't able to do that. It's tricky with Carolina. They haven't really quite proven, at least to me,
right,
they can kind of be a potential contender for the playoffs. The Buccaneers, it's very clear. It's very clear. They've got the mojo, quote unquote. They got the juice. They just need to get some victories where they aren't winning by 3 points.
Okay. Gotcha. Final question. This wasn't on our script, but so I apologize. I want to go back really quick, though. Last Thursday, icy hot bowl, Flacco and Rodgers. 2 men north of 40 going toe-to-toe. Your thoughts?
Great game. I'm a Steelers fan as well, and unfortunately, was it a great game for the Steelers? They lost a close game. Flacco seemed to be in the zone. I think he was ready to go, and he put on a great game, almost a clinic. I think the only concern with the Steelers is that the Steelers weren't really able to penetrate that protection. The Bengals were able to protect quite well. That offensive line was able to keep the Steelers at bay because that Steeler team normally likes to get turnovers, especially, and they'd like to at least get 1 or 2 sacks if they can. And they weren't able to really do that against the Bengals. It was a nice close game. And I would say right now, but it may be a fluke in regards to the Bengals. I think it may be a fluke in regards to them. Because I don't think, even with Flacco having that great game, I don't think they have much of a chance, even with Flacco in, unless he has games like that every week. And that's not going to be the case. Flacco can give up interceptions often. So, real good game with Flacco. And, of course, Aaron Rodgers is playing well.
Right.
And people aren't really talking too much about that because I think what they want is they want to hear Aaron Rodgers, the angry quote-unquote diva.
Yeah.
They want to hear Aaron Rodgers, the tongue-lashing quarterback. They want Aaron to be spouting philosophy and and other things and talking eloquently, and they want him to be a disruption. The sports writers want that so they can write about him. The TV reporters want that so they can lead off their sportscast with it. And they're not seeing that right now with Aaron Rodgers in Pittsburgh. They're just seeing a guy who's in his early 40s playing well.
And I think that's
not news.
Right. No, it's
that's
not.
Not news.
It's not. Unfortunately.
Yeah, notice you don't see too many segments about Aaron Rodgers as much as you did last year.
You don't.
He was in the
Joe Rogan and all that other stuff. Yeah. He was on Joe Rogan a lot, and it went viral quite a bit. So
Pat McAfee a lot too. Well, at least when he was injured.
Yeah.
So
no, absolutely.
Notice. They're not talking about Aaron. I mean, they'll say, yeah, he's playing well, but they don't want to talk about him that much. See, when Aaron stopped being the soap opera for the sports writers, I say this as a former journalist. Those never sports writer or reporter. Yeah. But when he stopped being a soap opera for the sports writers and the sports reporters, they lost interest in him. That's what they want.
Right.
Those blaring headlines, and they want real juicy quotes and sound bites so they can make their segments and their pieces. And they're not getting it from Aaron in Pittsburgh, because Pittsburgh is a well-run organization. They like stability. They don't like drama there in Pittsburgh.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Always a pleasure to talk to you. Where do we go for the Wise Guy Show?
The Wise Guy Show, you can go to at Ryder Albert Lainer 3434. That's at Ryder Albert Lainer on YouTube. At Ryder Albert Lainer 3434 on YouTube. And you can listen to The Wise Guy Show. Week 7 is already out, so you can check that out.
Okay, perfect. He's Albert Lainer, ladies and gentlemen. We look forward to him, and looking forward to talking to you next week as well.
See you next week.
Take care. And from the NFL to college football, and let's talk Florida football for just a moment, because there is some news in Gainesville. Billy Napier is fired after a 3-4 start to the 2025 season. Napier's gone. Can you believe it? 4 years on the job, high expectations, and it just never took off. The guy finishes with a .489 winning percentage, the worst for Florida coach since 1949. Yeah, you heard me right, 1949. The Gators still have 5 games left. Georgia, Tennessee, Florida State. Big rivalry matchups. Who's taken over? Wide receivers coach Billy Gonzalez gets the interim nod. Not much time to figure things out. Athletic director Scott Strickland said he met with Napier and decided a change was best for the program. He praised Napier for building a culture of accountability, and I get it. He sounds nice, sounds organized, but at the end of the day, this is results-driven business, and results, they weren't there. Now here's the kicker. Napier's buyout, $19.38 million, half of it due in 30 days. This guy made $7.4 million a year, and Florida didn't even wait to see the result. They made the decision the day before Napier's team pulled a 23-21 win over Mississippi State. Fire Billy chants. Yeah, those were ringing out in the stands. And, we've talked about it on this show. I called for Florida to fire him because I thought it was time. And Napier had a roller coaster 4 years. This team had flashes. They ended 8-5 last season. DJ Lagway stepping up as a freshman quarterback, upsets over LSU and Ole Miss. But 2025, not looking like a college football playoff team. And a lot of that falls on injuries, stalled development, and Napier not giving up play calling. Now the bigger question, who's next? Who is the next Florida head coach? And already on social media and everywhere else you turn, Lane Kiffin's name is at the top. Okay? Old Miss coach. And he would be nice, he'd be nice for him because he knows the SEC in and out, and has that prestige about him. But I don't think he is going to leave Ole Miss. So who else do you go with? Well, others floating around. James Franklin. Penn State, former Penn State coach who just was fired 7 days ago. We talked about him last week on this show. And James Franklin, his name's on the list. Jed Fish is also on that list. And if I had to pick the next coach for Florida, I would say James Franklin. Why not James Franklin? I mean, he's proven. He's steady. He handled the Big Ten pressure, so the SEC pressure, yeah, it's different, but it wouldn't be new. Big-time games wouldn't be new to him. So, I don't know, maybe We shall see. But look, Strickland says this timing allows the team to regroup, and they've got an open date to prepare for the rest of the season. So smart move from that perspective. But man, Florida fans, you're in some turbulence before things smooth out. We'll see where this goes. But one thing's for sure, the Gators are in search mode, and it's going to be a hell of a hire to turn this thing around. No doubt about that. Now, on to the Week 9 AP poll, and boy, oh boy, did the top 25 shake up. Every spot except number 1 Ohio State moved. Ohio State remains number 1 at 7-0. Indiana climbs to number 2, undefeated at 7-0 as well. Texas A&M in number 3. Alabama drops slightly to number 4. Georgia holds at 5. Oregon, Georgia Tech, Ole Miss, Miami, and Vanderbilt round out the top 10. Big movers, Vanderbilt up 7 spots to number 10. Miami drops 7 to number 9. Ole Miss down 3 to number 8. BYU back in at number 11. Notre Dame at 12. Oklahoma at 13. Texas Tech falling out of the top 10 after a rough loss to Arizona State. So the takeaways, a lot of churn, lots of chaos. 9 ranked teams lost this weekend, 4 in the top 10. Ohio State and Indiana, a Big Ten title game looming, right? Undefeated showdown. Alabama's beaten 4 straight ranked opponents. Texas A&M is still the last undefeated SEC team. Georgia's best win is maybe Ole Miss. Miami's one loss hurts them. And Notre Dame, they are on a 5-game win streak. It's very strong, but early losses keep them on the bubble. And how about BYU, still undefeated in the Big 12? So with that, we look at the mock 12-team college football playoff bracket based on these Week 9 rankings. The top 4 byes would be Ohio State, Indiana, Alabama, and Texas A&M. First round games on campus, December 19th and 20th. Number 12, South Florida would take on number 5, Georgia. Number 11, BYU. At number 6, Miami. Number 10, Georgia Tech. At number 7, Ole Miss. Number 9, Oklahoma. At number 8, Oregon. Okay, quarterfinals, the Cotton Bowl, the Orange Bowl, the Rose Bowl, the Sugar Bowl, December 31st and January 1st. So the winner of South Florida and Georgia would take on Texas A&M. The winner of BYU Miami would take on number 3 Alabama. The winner of Georgia Tech and Ole Miss would take on number 2 Indiana. And the winner of Oklahoma Oregon would take on number 1 Ohio State. So this season, nobody is safe. Teams are falling, right? Streaks are rising. Cinderella stories everywhere. Florida fans reeling with Napier gone. Penn State is trying to figure it out with Franklin gone. So the rest of college football, strap in, because the playoff picture is far from set. And with that, we transition to the NBA. And today is Jersey Day. One of those days where you can feel nostalgia coming through the radio. I mean, come on. Some of these uniforms, these threads, they're part of basketball history. You see the jersey and you instantly think of a player, an era, a highlight. That's the power of a great design. Now, here's the thing. People always ask me, Ryder, what makes a great jersey? And I'll tell you, it's identity. You know the team the second you see it. It's bold, it's timeless, and it looks just as good today as it did 25 years ago. So let's go through a few of them here because some of these deserve statuses. And we'll start with a current one, and it's the Portland Trailblazers away jersey, the black with the diagonal red and white slash. It's beautiful. They've never messed it up. You talk about consistent branding. Portland's been doing it for decades. You see black, red, white, boom, Trailblazers. No one else pulls it off quite like them. Sleek, bold, and honestly, if you're a jersey collector, this is one that belongs in the front of the closet, not the back. How about the Philadelphia 76ers from 97 to 09, the Iverson era? Black jerseys, red and gold trim, the big Sixers logo with the star. That uniform was Allen Iverson. He wore it like armor. He dragged that team to the finals against Shaq and Kobe. And that image, Iverson stepping over Ty Lue, immortalized that look forever. You show someone that jersey and they don't just think Philly, they think attitude. The Toronto Raptors, 95 to 99. Now this is a little wild, and it was way wild for its time. The cartoon raptor, that jagged pinstripe, it was loud, it was 90s, it was unapologetic. Vince Carter made it legendary. You talk about dunks, electricity, style. Vince in that purple jersey defined a generation, and Toronto knows it. They keep bringing that look back for a reason. The Detroit Pistons, 1996 to 2001, the teal era. People laughed at it back then, but I'll tell you what, those jerseys have aged beautifully. The flaming horse logo, the black and red outlines, it screamed late 90s. NBA Grant Hill soaring through the lane with that teal on. Come on, that's an era right there in and of itself. The Pistons took a chance, and it worked. Minnesota Timberwolves, the treat trim jersey from 96 to 08, the Kevin Garnett classic, the black jersey with those green pine trims. Perfect for Minnesota. It had texture, it had character, it had personality. Garnett made it iconic. MVP season, playoff battles, the emotion, the fire. When you think of early 2000 Wolves, you think of that jersey. The Vancouver Grizzlies from 96 to 01. Listen, that franchise was a mess, but those jerseys, the teal, they were gorgeous. Absolutely gorgeous. The tribal pattern around the collar, the red-black detailing, it was art. They may not have won many games in the jerseys, but they won the jersey battle every night. Vancouver got that right. How about the Indiana Pacers pinstripe era from 97 to 05? They were sharp, they were classy, and they fit the city. You had Reggie Miller in his prime, you had Jermaine O'Neal, you had the malice at the palace. Yeah, even the bad moments are burned into that fabric. Those jerseys saw the best and worst of the Pacers, but they were distinct. That navy with the gold pinstripes, that's Indiana basketball. You ask me, the pinstripes are a top 5 design in NBA history. You put that side by side with any era, still looks elite. And you know what all these have in common? Identity. Each one told a story. You didn't have to squint to know who was on the floor. Today, we've got city editions, icon editions, statement editions. Every team's got 9 jerseys and a half. And the time, you can't even tell who's playing. Bring me back the classics. Simplicity, purpose, character. That's what NBA Jersey Day is all about. It's remembering when style met substance. Let's talk about the New Orleans Pelicans as we continue our 30 teams in 30 days. And the Pelicans completely fell apart last season. I mean, 21-61. 21 wins after a 49-win season the year before. You can't make that up. That's not a drop. That's a collapse. Now, look, I get it. Injuries, right? Zion missed time. Murray missed time. Trey Murphy missed time. C.J. McCollum was barely there. By the All-Star break, Brandon Ingram's on another team. The defense is a mess, and the offense is nowhere to be found. That's how you end up second worst in the West. But here's the thing. This isn't a hopeless rebuild. The Pelicans actually made some interesting moves this offseason. They bring in Jordan Poole, who, yes, can drive you nuts, but he's still a 20-point-a-night guy. Sadie Bay, when healthy, solid, strong. Looney, right? 3 championships, knows how to play the right way. They also had themselves a good draft. Jeremiah Fears, a top 10 pick. Kid's got some juice. Derek Queen, when he's healthy, give them some interior scoring they've been missing. So you can mix that young core with the veterans, and it's not bad. But here's the but, and it's a big but. It all comes back to Zion. And so the question is, can Zion Williamson stay healthy? That's the question every single year. When he plays, he's a monster. Nobody in the league looks like him. Nobody moves like him. You saw that in the play-in last year. 40 points, 11 boards, 5 assists, and then boom, hamstring goes, season over. That's the story of his career. Now, I'll tell you this. Trey Murphy, the third, he's one of the guys I'm really watching. Before he got hurt, he was breaking out 21 a game. Length, defense, the shooting. He's got that modern wing skill set every contender wants. If he takes another step, he could be the real star next to Zion. So, yeah, they've got a lot of ifs. If Zion stays healthy, if Murray's Achilles holds up, if Poole behaves himself, but the talent is there. And if it clicks, the Pelicans could sneak right back into that play-in mix in the West. Still, until I see Zion play 70 games, I'm not buying the hype. Pelicans open the season October 22nd in Memphis. Then they've got San Antonio at home on the 24th. And they are in a wild NBA group stage with the Clippers, the Lakers, and the Mavericks. That is a test early to see right away what this team is made of. And I'll tell you right now, if Zion's healthy, they'll be fun. But if not, you're looking at another long winter in New Orleans. The final team of our 30 teams in 30 days are the San Antonio Spurs, a team that's finally showing signs of life again. They go 34-48 last season, which, yeah, doesn't sound great, but remember, that's 12 more wins than the year before, and that's with Victor Wembanyama missing the last 2 months due to that scary deep vein diagnosis before he got shut down. Wembanyama was an absolute show. I mean, the kid's 7'3", blocking almost 4 shots a game, scoring 24 a night. You just don't see that. He's not normal. He's not human. He's a walking highlight reel, and he's doing it efficiently. Shooting over 58% from 2, over 35% from 3. The guy's special, and San Antonio knows it. They're building everything around him. Now, the big story here, Greg Popovich, the legend, finally stepping down after 29 years, 5 championships, over 1,300 wins. The man is the Spurs. And now Mitch Johnson, who's been there forever, who learned under Pop, has taken over. So this is the new era. And I'll say this, they've set him up nicely. You got De'Aaron Fox, who came over at the trade deadline, giving the Spurs something they haven't had since Tony Parker, a dynamic downhill guard who can create for himself and others. And you pair him with Wemby, that's one of the best guard big duos in the league right now. Then there's Stephon Castle, Rookie of the Year. Tough, physical, plays right there. And Devin Vassell, still giving you 16 a night. Keldon Johnson, right? Shokan, Barnes, all solid pros. This isn't a team searching for identity anymore. This is a team trying to win. Now, the kid they took number 2 overall, Dylan Harper. That's where things get interesting. Tremendous playmaker, a big, strong guard out of Rutgers. But the question is, where does he fit? You already got Fox and Castle starting. Harper's going to have to show he can stretch the floor, hit the three, maybe even play a little off the ball if he wants minutes. But listen, talent finds its way onto the court. They will figure that out. The real key, though, is still Wembanyama. How does he respond after the injury? He's 21 years old, coming off a health scare that would sideline most guys for a year. But the Spurs are being smart. They bring in Luke Cornett to take some of that pounding. Kelly Olynyk for spacing. Bayombo back for toughness. They're protecting their investment. If Wemby stays healthy, this team is ready to compete. Maybe not for a title yet, but for a play-in spot, absolutely. And after 6 years out of the postseason, that's a big step for this franchise. Spurs open up the season October 22nd in Dallas. That's a tough test right out the gate. Then they come home to play the Brooklyn Nets on the 26th. They'll play on Christmas Day against Oklahoma City. That's the NBA telling you they believe in Wemby. They're putting him on the big stage. So San Antonio's back on the rise. The Popovich era may be over, but with Wembanyama, Fox, and this young core, the next great Spurs chapter might already be starting. And we have more NBA coverage starting tomorrow with the Hardwood Report, getting you ready for opening night of the NBA. Coverage begins at 7 p.m. leading Eastern Time, leading you right up to Rockets Thunder, and then in the nightcap, Warriors Lakers. The Ryder Report will follow the Warriors and the Lakers. Don't miss that tomorrow. Going to be a great night of basketball talk on the Hardwood Report, then the doubleheader, and then more basketball talk here on the Ryder Report. Here's what's trending in sports tonight. Former Tampa Bay Buccaneers All-Pro running back Doug Martin died in police custody early Saturday morning in Oakland, California, after officers responded to a reported break-in at around 4:15 a.m. Police say Martin, 36, was involved in the break-in and became unresponsive after a brief struggle while being detained. Paramedics administered aid and transported him to a hospital where he later died. The cause of death remains unconfirmed, and multiple agencies, including the Oakland Police Homicide Section, Internal Affairs, and the Alameda County District Attorney's Office, are investigating as required by police. Martin's family released a statement expressing grief and asking for privacy. The Buccaneers called Martin a fan favorite and celebrated him as one of the franchise's top 50 players, known as the Muscle Hamster, for his compact, powerful running style. Martin rushed for 5,356 yards and 30 touchdowns over 7 NFL seasons. A Boise State standout and 2012 first-round pick, Martin had a breakout rookie season with 1,454 rushing yards and 11 touchdowns, earning a Pro Bowl appearance. His best year came in 2015 when he was named first-team All-Pro after rushing for 1,402 yards. Martin, a California native, finished his NFL career in 2018 with the Oakland Raiders. Washington Commanders quarterback Jaden Daniels avoided any long-term damage to his right hamstring, according to an MRI. Coach Dan Quinn said Monday. However, Daniels' status for the October 27th game against Kansas City remains uncertain. It was not significant, Quinn said, noting the team will know more once Daniels resumes practice on Thursday. Daniels suffered the injury in Sunday's 44-22 loss to Dallas when blitzing Cowboys linebacker James forced a fumble and Daniels grabbed at his hamstring while going down. He later walked without a limp in the locker room. If he's unable to play, Marcus Mariota would start against the Chiefs. The Commanders also suffered a major blow defensively as defensive end Dorrance Armstrong tore his right ACL, ending his season. Armstrong, who was already dealing with a sore hamstring, was injured on the first series and leads that team with 5.5 sacks. Washington has now lost 3 defensive linemen for the season. Armstrong, Dietrich Wise Jr. with a quad, and Javante Jean-Baptiste. The injuries have compounded the Commanders' defense struggles as they are now ranked 21st in scoring defense and 27th in yards allowed. That's a hard one for us, Quinn said of Armstrong. I'm bummed for him. He was starting to make his mark. And Tampa Bay Buccaneers wide receiver Mike Evans suffered a concussion and shoulder injury during the second quarter of Monday night's game against the Detroit Lions. Evans was tackled by Lions cornerback Roque Yassin on a deep pass from Baker Mayfield, hitting his head on the turf. He remained on the ground for several seconds, being helped off by the training staff and teammates, including Kate Otten, White, Riffs, and Ebuka. Buccaneers captain Levante David and coach Todd Bowles also checked on him. Evans was ruled out for the remainder of the game. This was his first game back since a Week 3 hamstring injury, and he was recently honored as the 4th greatest player in Buccaneers history. That's what's trending in sports. Here is tonight's final thought. Well, the University of Texas broke with tradition this season. For decades, that field was just burnt orange. Pride, history, the Longhorn identity. Now, corporate logos are front and center, courtesy of human and longtime supporter. Athletic Director Chris Del Conte insists revenue isn't the reason. Maybe that's true. Texas football doesn't exactly struggle for cash, but let's be honest. This is about dollars. In a world where schools are paying out millions of athletes and scholarships, it's not just Texas. Alabama, Penn State, Oklahoma, LSU, South Carolina. They've all added logos, turning fields into a patchwork of commerce and branding. Even Auburn found a way to honor a Hall of Fame coach while signing a timber deal. Fresno State replaced Pride logos with casino logos to fund its program. The message is clear. Tradition bows to commercialism. And then there's Nebraska, hesitant, waiting for the right market value. A reminder that in this new landscape, timing matters, even if everyone else is rushing in. College football has changed. Logos on the field may make some of us wince, but they reflect a reality we can't ignore. The game is big business now. The question isn't whether these logos belong. It's whether the values we hold dear can survive them. That'll do it for me on this Monday night. Till next time, Ryder Bullock reporting. Thank you for your time, and thank you for letting me share mine.